So David's here for a number of reasons. It's always nice to see you, David, and you're very welcome.
Right.
Welcome to the Punch comes out next week, so it's going to be reviewed next week, but we are going to discuss it this week. Otherwise, you coming here, although you were a little late, your coming here is
only a little late. But then I got here and your microphones weren't ready, so straight back at
that's absolutely right.
So I was here earlier than people can think. It sounded me.
That's very true. It's a very good point. Tell us about Welcome to the Punch and your character and how you feel. It's a fantastic cast, and it's very interesting. It's fascinating film. Tell us about it.
Well, it's a thriller set in London, and James McAvoy plays a policeman who's been shot in the line of duty, and he's coming back onto the force. It's about 3 years later, and I play his boss, and I'm bringing him back. And there's, against the advice of a lot of people, I bring him back into the force. And he got shot pursuing a master criminal played by Mark Strong. And what happens at the beginning of the film proper is that a young boy is shot and injured at City Airport, and we find out that that boy is Mark Strong's son. So the police force, led by James McAvoy, decide to use that boy as a carrot to get Mark out of hiding. And that's where the film leaps off from. And it's about the pursuit of this criminal and how they sort of try and get him. And then there's a lot of shenanigans and a lot of sort of corruption going on as well around that. And he stumbles upon that as well.
Yeah. But you have to say, right at the very beginning, it looks fantastic. London looks fantastic, and it looks very stylish.
And Aaron, who directed it, his first film was Shifty, which was very different. He made that for £100,000
on the Microwave Project.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant film, but very low budget. About Danny Mays, who's also in Welcome to the Punch, was in it, and Rhys Ahmed, and that was great. And this is a very different film. It's a big film. It's not a big budget, but they make it look like a big budget. And London looks stunning. I think there's a lot of car chases and things like that, big set pieces, and he handles that brilliantly, I think. And also, you have to say about James McAvoy and Mark Strong, they are two, international stars, I think. They're great British actors. So it's wonderful to see them in this type of movie, which is, doing what the Americans do well with these two guys right in the centre of it.
Well, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. You're in this movie as well, David, and you are fantastic because it was quite difficult to talk about you in this movie, really, isn't it? Yeah. Because of the way everything unfolds. Well, however, okay, go on.
No, we're just. I would say we were having a discussion about how much, because obviously during the course of any movie, a character changes. The character changes in the way they relate to the thing. And Simon said, if we say so and so, is it a plot spoiler? And I said, well, the fact of the matter is that the minute you walk on, there's something fundamentally untrustworthy about it because of the way you.
Yes, but also I think there's something now, is the institutions like that, there's something untrustworthy about them anyway. I think that you look at the police, the priesthood, the politicians, there's something about people in high office that we look at and we think there's something untrustworthy. Whether there's something untrustworthy about my character is a matter of
conjecture.
Conjecture in the sense that you think his motivation for doing things you might not agree with, but his motivation for doing things are all in the right place. So that's what's throwing it up.
Shall we hear a clip?
I've got a meeting with the anti-gun lobby. I've got 2 minutes.
Max and I were just discussing this Blake case, and we thought there may be a way in through Rune Sternwood. Didn't we, Max?
Yeah. Look, I don't know about the Blake case, but if it was me, and it's not me, but if it was, I'd put Rowan in an open hospital, public, man it round the clock, dangle the hook, see if Sternwood bites, that's it.
You think you two are up to this?
Yeah, of course we are, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. Max?
You're still reeling from last time.
He was bang on about Iceland, wasn't he?
Yeah, look, I'm up to it, all right?
You leave the Blake case to Nathan and you stay out of his way, do you understand? I take your point. You get the hospital, but that's all.
There you go.
So that's terrific. It's just terrific, and that's Dave doing the copper.
Yes, but I've been promoted actually. I think I'm head of the Met or something. Yeah, so
you've been
up there,
promoted to that level,
yes.
Whereby inherently untrustworthy.
No,
but but you were saying it's the way in which people view characters.
Yeah.
Is that any character? That's the and there's nothing wrong. That's the law of the thing. The people on the ground doing the work are the good trust. Even if occasionally they drive a car through a wall, that's fine. But it's anyone.
I think that is the authoritative figure that people are inherently mistrustful about that. But yeah, it's true. And but I also think that's part of the thing that we really love. Things like Scandinavian drama here, or even sometimes British actors in American TV shows, is they don't come with any of that. So when you watch something like The Killing, you don't know any of those actors in a way. They're there for the first time, and I think that's part of the.
We should talk about British actors in American TV shows.
Mm-hmm. We can do, yes. There's quite a lot of them.
Yeah. But I wonder if one of the, quite what kind of Policeman we're getting, depending on whether we're listening to you or whether we're listening to Mark. I wonder if partly it's because it's you, Dave Morrissey, that we're watching, and we've seen you do these kind of roles before.
I think that any actor with a long career, there are things that come up. I mean, you try to, filter your work when you get it, and you think, oh, well, have I played this part before? But you're looking for something that is surprising, and I think, with this film particularly, I think, there is a sense of James's character really working against the machine. He's off message. He's certainly a policeman off message. And it's interesting what Mark says, the fact that we always consider him to be the hero, even though he's doing outrageous things. And the people in authority we sort of suspicious about because they're bosses, really, and they're behind closed doors. So, but with me playing it, I'm not sure whether I bring that to it or not,
The interesting thing is someone's talking about the fact that the film looks really, it's got a fantastic, not visual sheen, but the whole, the screen really glimmers. Does that mean when you're making the film itself, because people always said, for example, if you work like with Ridley Scott, does he spend as much time with the actors as he doesn't get the lighting? This film is lit to pieces. Yes. I mean, there is not a shot in it that does it, and you're actually quite surprised by how glamorous it makes London look. How is that for an actor?
Well, of course, the great thing for me is they do all that work before you arrive as the actor. So all that planning, where they're going to park the lights, where they're going to park the cars, all those things, that's all done before. So for me as the actor, I get on stage, I get to the trailer, I sit there, and then I go to the location, and I, like you, for the first time watching on film, just think, look at that, that's fantastic. Look at Canary Wharf, how they've lit it. But all that work, all that great work is done before you as the actor even get there. So sometimes as an actor, you're quite blasé about it. You get there and think, oh yeah, this is fine. But actually you forget about all the work that's gone into being able to light half of Canary Wharf, and things like that.
Because it's all glass and reflecting surfaces.
And I think one of one of the production team's sort of touchstones was heat in that way, that sort of American look of Manhattan, and making London look like a modern city. And interesting, James is in another film called Trance, which is about to come out. And that is all about London as well, and using London as a different type of location. So I think London is endlessly discoverable, isn't it? As long as you've got for us, got the money to be able to light it at night.
Noah Redfield in Brooklyn. First time I saw David Morrissey was in Drowning by Numbers, which, unless I'm mistaken, was his feature film debut.
Yes, it was.
He stole every scene he was in, and I've been a fan ever since. As Drowning by Numbers is one of my favourite films, could you ask Dave what it was like working with Peter Greenaway on this underrated masterpiece?
What was really interesting about that was we filmed it in Suffolk, on the Suffolk coast, which I sort of live there now. So it was really, I'd never been there before, and I got there and I just fell in love with the location, really. It's a very typical Peter Greenaway. It's quite an odd film. And Peter's he's a wonderful filmmaker because he's very, physically and emotionally, he's very different to his work, really. You meet him, he's sort of like meeting a bank manager or an accountant or something. And then you read the script that he's written, it's very dark and very perverse sometimes. So that juxtaposition between these two things I was trying to work out. But it was a wonderful film in the sense that, the cast was great. Bernard Hill, Juliet Stevenson, Jolie Richardson. That was great. My big thing about that film, though, is I ended up in Playboy magazine, which was fantastic.
Really?
Which is, yes, because they did this whole feature about actresses without their clothes on, which was quite wrong of them in a way. But in one picture was me in the back in the back of a shot with no clothes on. I was like, I don't remember that photographer being on set. So there was obviously a still from the film.
This was issue number one?
Yes, no, I can't. We're not going any further than that.
I hope you noticed the fact that Mark and I completely, we didn't know that, because obviously we don't get that kind of...
No, definitely. I mean, I think I bought up every copy there was as well. So,
You said when you see a script, you think, have I ever played this role before?
Yeah.
Was that one of the attractions when in going to do Walking Dead and doing this huge TV series in America, which you can watch over here as well, if you have the right channels? But had you play the governor, was it the prospect of going back to Atlanta? Was it the prospect of doing a big TV series in America?
It was that. I was a fan of that show. I was a fan of that. I'd watched that show. Andrew Lincoln, who's a friend of mine, I just think he's a great actor. And when the pilot came on, Frank Darabont's pilot of The Walking Dead, I watched it and just thought it was like a great movie, that pilot. And I was thinking, how are they going to make a show out of this? And it carried on surprising me, and I fell in love with the show. So last year when I was over there, this time last year actually, and I met them, they said, would you like to go for The Walking Dead? I was like, absolutely, because I'm a fan of the show. And then it's all very sort of cloak and dagger, really. At first, they don't tell you what character you're up for. It's very sort of secretive, as these things always are. And then you sign a deal before you even get offered the job. That's the other thing about American television.
You what?
You sign a deal before you even are offered the job, so that you do your contract with American networks before there's a job available for you, so that that's and for me it was a 5-year contract, but usually it's a 7-year contract because you're going into pilots, and that's the way every actor does it. So it's a real leap of faith from the actor's point of view.
So it's like the old studio system.
It's absolutely like that, yeah.
Wow.
And what they decide to do with your character inside there, you hopefully once you're inside there, and for me it's been a wonderful experience working with the writers and stuff, and it's a very conducive sort of atmosphere to be creative in, but sometimes that could go wrong.
But so that is exactly like how the old star system worked. That you would sign to a studio, and then you would then hope that the studio developed you in the way. But you were a contract player.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
right.
That's how American
That's
television
it.
works.
That's the way it's television. It's been done like that for a long time, really, and. I mean, for me, it's turned out to be such a great experience because I love the show. But that thing about choosing a role, you choose a role for many different reasons sometimes. For me, with Welcome to the Punch, the script was excellent. I loved it. But also, working with James and Mark, I was really looking forward to that because I'm such a fan of theirs. And I felt that was great company to be in, and Danny Mays and Johnny Harris and Andrew Riseborough. So it's a package there. And any job that you do is a leap of faith, I mean, you look at something like I've done, like Basic Instinct 2, and you jump into that film and you don't know how it's going to be and what it will be like. And
what was it like?
And well, actually, when I did it, the experience of doing it was really great, but it wasn't very well received. But you can never
apart from Mark, who prefers it to, Mark, if you had to choose Basic Instinct 2 or The Reaping.
Oh, Basic Instinct.
The Reaping is another example. But you never know. Every job is a leap of faith, and actually that should never stop you jumping into it.
Do you think Mark would prefer Walking Dead to The Reaping?
I think he would, yes, definitely. I think it's very up his street.
Can I just say on the subject of Basic Instinct 2, when earlier this week I did a screening of La Belle La Bête at the Phoenix, and it was entirely there was the psychiatrists in the audience and psychotherapists and Chris Frayling and Margaret Rustin on stage, and they were talking way above my head. And at one point somebody mentioned Lacan, and I thought, so I said, of course, the best cinematic Lacanian joke ever was she left early. How Lacan, we got the biggest laugh of the evening, laugh of the evening for the script from Basic Instinct 2.
I'm going to have a T-shirt with that on it. I think. It's fantastic.
How Lacanian of it.
It must be a fantastic experience. Just that whole, you were talking about Brits abroad and being in big American TV programs. And you do get the sense as you watch these astonishing programs coming over that a lot of the great writing, in fact, Tim Roth, we were mentioning Tim Roth before because of this movie Broken. Yeah. And when he came on to talk, he said he was one of the first British actors, he said, to go, you know what, television is as exciting as movies. American television it's really exciting.
But that is because there's that American independent film is slightly in danger, I think. There's a more difficult financial world that film lives in, and that talent, I think, is going into television. I think television has a real resurgence. We watch it differently. We watch it in box sets and things like that. It's a great thing for me to watch with my teenagers as well, as sit down and watch the box set and commit to it. You've got 16 hours. We've got 16 hours to work with these characters. It's an ensemble show. It's a big story, and you can fall in love with those characters. Shows like Mad Men and that, and also shows like Downton. I mean, Downton do that in America. They love it in America. So having that canvas to play on, I think the writing has really captured people's imagination. And television was a really worried industry a couple of years ago because of downloads and stuff like that. But now I think it's really
Kevin Spacey with his Netflix.
All download the whole House of Cards. You download in one go, don't you?
And you commit to it. And I think that's sofarization as well. Now that you sit you sit on the sofa and you twist.
Sofarization.
Yes, sofarization. Have you not heard that?
That's not a word.
No, we haven't heard that because we're in England, David.
Oh, right. Well, it's a sofarization.
We're not in LA now.
Sorry, love.
Sofarization
is that you sit on the sofa and you have a conversation with people. Oh, look, we're going to the news already. It's the newserization.
Headline is there's a new word, sofarization.
All right. We'll do some more with Dave Morrissey in a few moments.
As long as you don't use that word again.
I'm using it again.
Sam Raimi is going to be our guest after 3:30. Dave Morrissey still here.
Still here. I can't get rid of me on sofarization. I'm doing it.
This is a word. You're very familiar, and you just dropped it in. But everyone else was. We were speaking. Mark and I were speaking on behalf of the nation, and in horror.
When there was an audible intake of breath, did David Morrissey, whom I have liked until just now, use the word sofarization?
Everybody will be using it tomorrow.
There's no one in this country who has ever used that word.
Really?
Ever.
In my house, it happens all the time.
Some of our colonial commoner listeners on the podcast, they will be familiar with it.
Yes,
but.
According to Fruit Salad Retro on Twitter, sofarization...
No, I'm not taking any stick from anyone called Fruit Salad Retro. I'm sorry.
Sofarization was when a settee takes the shape of one or more sitters' backsides.
Exactly. There you go. But as Douglas Adams said so well.
Jocelyn, I think that is, or possibly Jacqueline. David Morrissey is awesome as the governor. Scary and unpredictable. Cannot get a read in those very sly eyes.
Well, or sly eye, as it is now, I'm afraid.
I keep wanting to see more of him whilst wishing the character would meet a grisly end.
Well, if you want to see more, if you want to see more of him, apparently a back issue of Playboy magazine will sort that out for you.
And hopefully back issue is the appropriate.
He's on form. Is it true, Simon, that you were in a steam room with Justin Bieber?
It is.
When did that happen? Is that why he was late the other night by 2 hours?
No, it was the day after.
Oh, really?
So the day after, I go to the gym, which is the gym I ordinarily go to, and Justin Bieber is there, very distressingly working out without his shirt on, and we don't like that kind of behaviour in this kind of middle-aged gym that I go to because it's full of fat European businessmen. That's why I go, to feel better. See? So, and there's Justin Bieber, working out. He's got his tattoos and all that kind of stuff, and his friends.
How amazing!
And so he does that for a while,
and then you followed him into the steam room.
Well, and then he was shouting a lot at all the people he was with because they'd messed up yesterday and they'd ordered the wrong kind of motorbike.
Right.
And he'd say, I told you to get these motorbikes and you get the wrong kind of motor. I'm editing this as we go through.
Marvellous.
I shouldn't have to say to this to you he's sounding like a parent while being 5 foot and talking to these grown-up people who clearly have messed up with the wrong motorbike. And then the three of us end up in the steam room. He went into the steam room to have a private word with one of his chaps. Right. And I thought, I'm going to go in there and see what they're talking about.
Amazing. I mean, how much would people pay to be in the same steam room as Justin Bieber?
Probably.
And you got it for nothing?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, you're assuming I
did. The same steam room as Simon, but,
Thank you.
Good.
You're fine.
Very much indeed.
I can't join in this conversation because I haven't.
You don't know who Justin Bieber is?
I do know who he is. Yes, he met John Ronson once. That's how I know who he is.
I have to say, he is very trim, but then he is just 18, and so therefore, and we were all pretty trim when we were 18, were we not?
Well, I can't remember it so far. I'll have to go to my back issue of Playboy to find out.
He's got quite a nice tattoo of a Native American headdress.
Oh, how lovely. Inside information there, everybody. Well done.
I just say you haven't tweeted that photograph of me wearing David's glasses. You've just tweeted a thing saying here's a photograph, but you haven't actually...
Did I not include the photograph?
No, you
See,
didn't.
now that's sofarization.
I haven't found
number
you on Twitter.
one.
You could just fix that so that people can see that when I have David's glasses on, I look like David.
Yes.
Every bit as
Peter
glamorous.
McParland, who's also on that aforementioned Twitter account, is the governor the most evil character that David has played?
He's up there, I think. Yeah, I mean, I've played Bradley Headstone in Our Mutual Friend, who was quite out there as well. As Mark mentioned before, I do tend to play sort of the darker side of the characters in the world. But
well, that's the point that we were making. So back to Punch.
Yeah.
Whether you do or whether you are a dodgy guy, whether you're not and you're a true upstanding copper,
Yes.
because it's you and we remember State of Play and we've seen Walking Dead, we're kind of thinking, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I do bring those things in sometimes. I mean, I think there's other... I mean, in South Riding, I didn't do that. In Red Riding, he was slightly dodgy, wasn't he, I guess? But yeah, there's the devil gets all the best tunes, doesn't
They don't call you Dodgy Dave for nothing.
Dodgy Dave.
Dodgy Dave Morrissey.
In The Governor, is there anything of Gordon Brown?
No, nothing of Gordon Brown in The Governor. I mean, I think, actually, I would say that Gordon Brown was one of the people that I played that wasn't sort of that,
Well, there's a dark side to Gordon Brown. Apparently.
Yeah, but not as dark as Tony Blair, I would suggest. But I think, you got
or Stephen Collins.
Yeah, so
or the
Stephen
Governor.
Collins was very, he was hiding a lot. No, the Governor's, he comes from a comic book. He comes from that world. In the comic book, he does a lot more terrible things than he does in the TV show. So.
One of our regular correspondents, Jeremy Dillon, aged 22 in Sydney.
The director of Benjamin Stiddlegoras and the Cauldron of Penguins.
I'd like to take this opportunity to apologise through your good selves to noted member of this parish, Lord David of Morrissey. 2 years ago, I made a feature film called Benjamin Stiddlegrass and the Cauldron of Penguins, in which I portrayed the BAFTA-nominated actor as a bitter middle-aged woman who made her nephew sleep in the ironing cupboard.
Fantastic.
I can only imagine that due to the overwhelming box office success of Passat Cop, Mr. Morrissey is constantly accosted by members of the public, berating him for his unladylike behaviour and shouting from across the street, "That's no way to raise a boy wizard. I sincerely apologise for this and the resulting damage to his reputation, which has left him no other option than to leave England and take a key role in one of America's most popular TV shows."
It's actually the opposite of that. People come up to me and ask me how I transform myself into that woman in that sort of De Niro-like way. So I always take kudos from it, I think.
How would you describe, because I'm just back on the reaping here, which I enjoyed, by the way, even if Grumpy Draws here didn't. What accent? So you're back doing sort of Southern American states.
Georgia.
What is the governor's?
He's from Georgia. Yeah, he's we film it in a place called Sonoya, which is about an hour outside Atlanta. So it's set there, and that's what Andrew and I do: Southern accent, Southern Georgian accent.
Is it an easy accent to do? Is it tricky?
It's easier. I find it easier than General American because General American doesn't have the hooks. It's got a lovely tune to it. The Georgian accent, and the real advantage is that we film it there, that we're there, and all the crew are local. So, and we stay in accent all the time. So, you hear it all the time. And if you're talking to the crew and you slightly go off accent, they all have license to tell you. So it's nice. It's a great atmosphere to be in.
So you stay in accent between shots when you're...
Stay in accent for the whole time, yeah. I mean, between shots, lunchtime, even when Andrew and I are on the phone to each other, we stay in accent. I know that sounds weird, but actually it means that we can just inhabit it in such a way. We are ourselves. We're talking as ourselves. We might be talking about the football or whatever, but we stay in the accent because that's it. And it's also to do with muscular workouts, actually. It's different muscles that you use for that accent. So
if you're on your own in a room, let's say you're in your hotel room and you stub your toe, do you cuss in an American accent?
Listen, that great footage that was on about Christian Bale when he lost it with the and he did it in accent.
In American accent,
he turns around
he never broke character.
He absolutely goes lethal with that guy, quite rightly in my opinion, but he does it in accent. And the reason he does that is because it becomes part of you. It's what you're doing. And
well, Christian Bale took it further. Christian Bale did all the publicity for American Psycho in America in accent.
Really?
Because I presume because he thought...
But then didn't he go to the Oscars and do it in a Cockney accent? That was also...
Yeah, I don't know what accent he was doing at the Oscars.
Researching it. But
God blimey, mate, I just won an award.
But it's important to stay in it. It is a muscular thing. You are working different muscles in your face.
And is it quite key in terms of getting the character to get the voice right, or does the voice come?
No, it's really important to find the voice. I mean, those things that you grab out, you work from the outside in as well as the inside out, but you get those things and you suddenly find it, and you find usually you listen to a lot of tapes, you see a lot of YouTube clips of people from the area and stuff like that, and it's an amalgamation of those things. But it's very important to find the voice. Yeah.
Just a final word on the zombies. There's the new edition of New Scientist magazine. They've had a competition to try and find a new energy source. Okay?
Right.
How are we going to save the planet? What is the next new idea for
the answer is zombies, isn't
it? Well, it is. Someone who entered this competition called Dave Requiso. His suggestion to generate energy from zombies. All we need is to let the zombie pandemic happen and then start tapping this innovative energy source.
Well, exactly.
So
there you go.
Everything is going to be fine. So before you go, what can you tell us about what David Morrissey is going to be doing next? Walking Dead or anything else?
I can't talk about The Walking Dead because it's all involved in spoilers going forward. But I am doing Fields of Blood, which is a BBC two-part drama, which is a second part of a thing I did a couple of years ago. So it's all set in a Glasgow newsroom in the 80s.
And you can't tell us anything else.
And I can tell you that it's fantastic. And I did it a couple of years ago with Peter Capaldi, and this time it's with me and
nothing else about
Jay Johnson. But I can't say anything more about the Governor. You just have to wait and see it. It's like this spoiler alert that I have to be careful about.
No, absolutely.
It's on tonight. Episode 12 is on UK Fox tonight, so you should watch that. And then there's 16 episodes to go. So, but I can't tell you whether I'm back in it or anything like that.
David Morrissey, always a pleasure. We continue to greet you on a weekly basis.
I will have the image of you and Justin Bieber in a steam room now for a long time.
And just promise me you will never use the word
sulfurization. Come on, let's get out there, folks.
Ever again.
Let's start using it, everybody.
Dave Morrissey, thank you very much indeed.